Okay, this is Marie Holiday this afternoon rather. It is Saturday, June 27th. And I hope everybody had a very good week. And I hope everybody had a very good week and gonna have a very good weekend. So we're gonna pick up where we left off, but before we do that, I just want to remind everybody to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, so as I upload more videos and moving forward, you all can be notified in a timely manner. As you all know, I'm using the cliffhanger approach, so each week I present more information about my holistic financial freedom. So with that being said, so last week basically I discussed, last Saturday I discussed and presented the numbers in regards to how I was looking financially from 2007 to 2012. And if you all remember, I had a monthly debt of over $8,000 per month, only bringing home $2,200 a month, and there's no way in the world I could have maintained that vicious cycle. Now the totality of all of the bills that I have in the world is a little over $1,500, and that's how I've been able to do a lot of things I've been able to do financially. Unbeknownst to me during that time, in terms of when I got myself out of that situation, unbeknownst to me, I was using a combination of a snowball effect and an avalanche effect. And I still do that now in terms of meeting my financial goals. I kind of want to just talk a little bit about that before I get into the matter of the 340 credit score. That's what brought y'all back this morning. Y'all want to find out how in the world I brought that credit score up. Well, it kind of does tie into what I did, the snowball effect, and what that is paying a smaller amount of money more frequently on any bill, in order to, rather it's your regular bills, the accelerator bill, and in addition, and I still do this now, I'm using this approach to pay off my mortgage, the avalanche effect. Unbeknownst to me, I also was using the avalanche effect to pay a lot of my bills, meaning you slam a large amount of money at one time on the same bill. That's how I was able to pay my Honda off rapidly in 1 year early, if y'all remember. So I still use a combination of snowball effect and avalanche effect to save money, to invest, to pay off my mortgage. Same concept. So as I paid on one bill, I will redirect that money towards investing, accelerating my mortgage, get my child through college. Even today, I use the snowball and avalanche effect. So let me get a sip of coffee. And by the way, I got a late start today because, as the audience know, I sell on Facebook Marketplace. I've been doing that now since about December 2019, and kind of accidentally got into it as a hobby. So I discovered, hey, I like this hobby. Let me go ahead and cultivate my online store and get more streams of income. Had to meet with one of my buyers this morning, made a little bit of money, and ran a couple of errands, so here I am. So now I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to talk about what strategy I use to raise my credit score from a 340 to a 640 within the time frame of 2012 to 2014. So about a year and a half, I was able to raise my credit score from a 340 to a 640, and I'll continue on. Right now, it's over. My score is over 100 with all three credit bureaus. But I want to talk about the matter of the 340 credit score. What I did to do this, the strategy plan that I used to do this, is the first thing I did in 2012 is I obtained a copy of all three of my credit reports, meaning I had to get the paper. I had to get copies of my credit report from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. That was the first order of business. Forget about going online and looking at everything. I needed for these three stakeholders to send me my credit report, and they will send you this information free. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to get your hands on your credit reports. Once I got them, I reviewed and I studied those reports. I literally got a highlighter and I highlighted all of the derogatory accounts. You know, it was more on there other than the major stuff. It was a lot of little stuff, not just the default 3 credit cards and the foreclosed mortgage and the horrible payment history of Honda. It was a lot of old derogatory bills on there that needed to come off. So when I got that information, of course I saw the foreclosed mortgage. I saw all of the default credit cards. I saw a truckload of other old bills on there that was hurting my credit score. Yeah, I saw the horrible payment history with Honda. I claimed it. It was my junk. You know, I'm not going to try to sit here and say, oh, well, I'm shocked. It was my junk. And so, at the same time that I was reviewing my 3 credit reports, for whatever reason, I remember a conversation I had with my first cousin who lives in Florida. He's a smart individual. And I remember a conversation I had with him, and he told me, he said that when a creditor turns a bill over to a bill collector, I don't care who that creditor is, credit cards, a store credit card, or the mortgage company, the car note people, when that creditor turns that bill over to a collection agency, they are selling that pennies on the dollar. And for whatever reason, I remember that conversation. So by the time the collection agency calls you to try to negotiate a settlement, I remember him telling me, in reality, from a legal standpoint, you do not owe the collection agency. You owe the credit card people, or Honda, or the bank who you went into an agreement with. You remember when you signed all that paperwork for a credit card or a mortgage or a house? You put in your name on that dotted line. From a legal standpoint, that's who you owe. You don't owe the collection agency anything. And how he said it to me, he said, the next time a collection agency call you, all you got to say is, can you send me the agreement that I signed with you saying I owe you this money? And there will be no documentation and no agreement, because you never signed anything with the collection agency. And I just remember that conversation. Follow me on this one. I just remembered that. I didn't really do anything with that information at that point. So basically, he stated when the collection agency was calling me about a bill. I'm going to personalize this. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of phone calls from collection agencies calling me about all of my derogatory debt. That's a tactic they use, because who you really owe is the stakeholder who you signed that agreement with. So in knowing all this, about a week later, I took the simple route with Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Many of you all may be familiar that you can go online with Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and you can do the easy route to click, you dispute all these bills. Yeah, I did that. I dispute, knowing good and well they my bills. That was the easy route. Default mortgage, credit cards, horrible, and all the other derogatory stuff. So I did that for a while with, went online, disputed everything with the 3 credit bureaus. And when you do that, they will send you the outcome of your dispute within 1 or 2 weeks. And I would get my outcome of my dispute within 1 to 2 weeks. And they sent me this letter saying, it has been declared that these derogatory counts belong to you. Nothing was removed. Nothing, 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 nothing. I knew that. I knew it wasn't going to be that easy. Who was I fooling? I knew I created that mess. I'm still remembering what my cousin told me. So, think about it. I'm kind of transposing my knowledge. If you follow me on this one. So think about it. The collection agency is a different stakeholder from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. The collection agency is a different stakeholder from those other 3 stakeholders. You got to understand that. I don't care what my first cousin told me. The collection agency is a different stakeholder from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and they were sending me those letters saying, we have determined all this derogatory, horrible debt belong to you, and you again. I went back and forth that for a few months, knowing good and well, yeah, it's mine. But I understand what my first cousin was saying. I don't owe the collection agency nothing, but the credit bureaus, all they know is we got all this derogatory stuff on you that you created for 5 years. So I tried to dispute it online, back and forth for 3 or 4 months, got the same results. The debt is yours, baby. Your credit score horrible, bad. You ain't going nowhere. So I paused. I remember I paused and, okay, I'm looking at all this and getting these reports from the outcome of the 3 credit bureaus, and yeah, ain't nothing happening. 4 or 5 months don't went by. So I remember about 4 or 5 months into this journey, 6 months maybe, here we go again. I remember a voice speaking to me. And I remember that calm voice of God telling me to sit down. I need for you to sit your behind down, and I need for you to type a personalized letter, an in-pipe statement. In-pipe statement to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. The in-pipe. And I'm talking about personalized. Explaining in detail how the in-pipe of my divorce had an in-pipe, the in-pipe of my divorce had an in-pipe on me financially. When I was living in Atlanta and married, I was making a lot of money. So the financial impact of my divorce, the impact on the behavior of my ex-husband, how it had a direct impact on my livelihood, so much to the point where it made headlines. There we go. I'm taking it deep. I didn't understand the deepness and impact of his behavior until at the time my daughter was in high school. She came home from high school and said, oh, Mom, your daddy made headlines? Even though I was divorced, but that behavior had an impact on my whole livelihood, my whole financial freedom, my whole spiritual, my whole physical, my whole mental, to the point when you divorce, your income is crushed. And there's no way I can maintain two households with a making 75% less than what I was making. A voice told me, sit down and write a impact statement on how my financial life and all aspects of my life had a direct impact on where I was from 2007 to 2012. And also, that voice told me, personalize it to the point, in that impact statement, include newspaper clippings on the behavior and the impact of my ex-husband and correlate it, how it impacted me. Also, put in that brick brown envelope with the impact statement, copy of my divorce decree, marriage license, so they can see, yeah, she was married, yeah, she was divorced, and a whole lot of shit in between. I'm personalizing and how it had an impact on my spiritual, mental, financial, all the way around. So I got all of this evidence. And also in that impact statement, all the stuff that I told y'all up to this point, I put all that in there. On how I was borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, burying my hole deeper. With my writings, I had to get into the mind of Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, because I knew that going online to do something, that's impersonal. But I knew if I got and start writing and start putting all of that evidence in an envelope, there you go. Something told me Equifax, TransUnion, this stuff was deep. And Experian, all of these big envelopes with all of this body of knowledge in here explaining the impact of my life and the horrible decisions I was making. I knew that a human person would have to open this up, unseal it, take it out, and read it. There's a big difference between going online and clicking a button and putting something in a huge envelope. Now a voice told me somebody's gonna open this. And when they open it, they got to read it. So I did that. Because the behavior of the ex-husband, that behavior, when it made headlines, all of that information was in the public domain for the whole world to see. So I didn't feel bad about this here. It was already in the public domain. If you Google that man's name right now, this mess will come up. And by that time, I had escaped to North Carolina. I'm a year into my divorce. Folks calling me, asking me, what did you do? All of that had a direct impact on my life, my livelihood. I had to paint a picture. So now I sent all those personalized impact statements to TransUnion, Equifax, sent them out. A couple of weeks later, I get my response. We have determined that these debts belong to you. Okay, I'm good. It ain't gonna be that easy. So I did that back and forth for a few months, sending out these powerful. They'll send me the letter. We did all three of the credit bureaus. We have, after reading my impact statements, they send me the letter saying we determined it belonged to you. I would send this back out again. A couple of weeks later, they'll send me a letter saying we have determined all these debts belong to you. I'll wait a few weeks later, I send it out again. All three of them sent big envelopes with all these impact statements in. I mean, deep stuff. Deep. I get chills when I look through this. That's a lot of that. Each one of them getting all of this. So I remember. So now, 2012, I started this. 2013. Okay, I'm still, and I remember going back and forth with these big envelopes. Copies of the marriage license, copy of the divorce decree, and all that information from the media on that ex-husband and how it correlated and had an impact on me. So now, I remember about 7 months went by. I remember this, of me doing this. Because remember, God said, have faith in me. So about 7 months into doing this, I will never forget this. It was around maybe 11 months later. I went to my mailbox one day, and it was, around the same time frame. It seemed like within 2 to 3 days, I get a letter from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And, I didn't really think nothing of it. Excuse me. I didn't really think anything of it. I mean, I think, throughout the week I was getting mail, and sometimes I just throw the mail on my table and open it all up on Saturday. I remember this. I won't forget this because it was on a Saturday. I opened up TransUnion letter with their outcome, Equifax letter with their outcome, and Experian letter with their outcome. And this is no lie. When I opened this up, it showed all three of them had removed my foreclosure off my credit report, had removed those default 3 credit cards, credit card number 1, 2, 3 off my report, remove all those late payments I had on my Honda off my report, and it was for several other derogatory old accounts they had wiped out simultaneously. God said, have faith in me. Don't believe the myth when people tell you it takes 7 years to clean your report. I'm here to tell you my stuff was wiped out within 11 months. God said, have faith in me. The foreclosure, the credit card 1, credit card 2, credit card 3, the late payments on the Honda, other derogatory accounts. Because remember, I was in that madness from 2007 to 2012. 5 years heavy madness, financial destruction. And when I started working on my credit report in 2012, by early 2014, my stuff was cleared. About a month and a half later. So, again, God said, have faith in me. So we're talking about within 11 months later, something that I thought was going to take 7 years of major derogatory accounts to be taken off. All 3 credit bureaus, credit bureaus remove that foreclosure, remove all 3 of those credit cards, remove the late Honda payments and some other accounts I had on there. God said, have faith in me within 11 months. That voice that I heard, sit down and do an impact statement. That voice was God. And not only do an impact statement, to personalize it, to tell your story, to tell your journey of the impact of your journey and how it had a negative impact on my ability to be able to pay my bills, which had a direct impact on all of that stuff getting reported to the credit collection agency. All that was removed within 11 months. So when that happened, my credit score jumped from a 340 immediately to a 615. And that was in 2013. That jump occurred within about a month, a year and a half. From a 640 to a 615, it jumped. Just like that. God said, have faith in me. So that was a 275 point increase in about 11 months. That foreclosure was removed, the credit cards were removed, the default, all three of those default credit cards were removed, the late payments on the Honda was removed, and it was some few other things that was removed. Credit score increased by 275, so now we went from 340 to 615. God said, have faith in me. Those letters took 11 months. The Impact statement in the envelopes, the big brown envelopes, took 11 months to reach the right eyes of someone in Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. It took 11 months to reach the right eyes. What if I would have gave up? Because by sending those big giant sealed envelopes, the voice told me different people gonna open them up. It took 11 months to reach the right eyes, and not only reach the right eyes with 3 different stakeholders, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And you can't tell me that it was by accident around within the same week, all 3 separate eyes sent me the letter saying your shit been removed. So what if I would have gave up? What if I wouldn't have had my faith in God? The right eyes would have never seen that Impact statement sealed in that envelope. So now the credit score has been risen. So simultaneously by this point, I've continued to slam anywhere between $1,100 to $1,500 in my savings account per month. Accelerated my retirement. I started accelerating my other state retirement. So within the first 10 months, that's how I was able to save so much money. I continue to accelerate my savings, my retirement. There is no stopping. I began to set the stage for my down payment on my home. But remember, my credit score was now 615. I needed a 640 to qualify for my mortgage to be financed. Don't forget that. So I still had some work to do. I still had the matter of the credit card. I still had the matter of not quite reaching a 640 credit score. So what I did, I continued what I did in terms of I continued to save money, accelerated money, slam money, but in my mind I knew I still needed a minimum credit score of 640. In the midst of all of this, since I have, with the help, with my faith in God, I accomplished a tremendous feat. What I learned over time by speaking with the different credit bureaus, sending out Impact statements, I made phone calls on top of that. What I learned from them, and this is very important, about understanding how those credit score numbers move. What the source told me, the credit bureaus, not no so-and-so, once you stop paying a debt, this is what the credit bureaus told me, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Once you stop paying a debt, that's when the clock stops. So when individuals fall for that tactic, when the collection agency call you to set up an arrangement to pay the bill. Every time you send money on a bill that's already derogatory, you keep the clock moving. Once you stop paying a bad debt, that's when the clock stops. For example, when I let my mortgage go and my 3 credit cards go into default June or maybe 2012, May or June of 2012, that's when I sent my last payment in on my mortgage and my credit cards, May or June of 2012. I'm kind of revisiting that madness, but I need for you all to hear this piece because it's critical in understanding how to raise that credit score. And if people need a little bit more information on the particulars, you know, just comment and send me a comment, and I can break it down a little deeper. Because right now we're getting into the intricate details of financial freedom and how to master changing your credit score. So when I let my mortgage go and the credit cards go in default, I sent my last payment in May or June of 2012 on all of those accounts. If I would have tried to continue to make payments on those default accounts, the clock would not have stopped. Meaning, the 7-year time frame begins the last date you make your last payment. So if you're still trying to pay on derogatory debts, that time frame that clock ain't stopping. So I gathered all this information from the credit bureaus, but in my case, all of my bad debt was supposed to drop off my credit report June of 2019. But mind you, all of my stuff was wiped off in 2013. All of my bad credit stuff was wiped off in 2013. And if I would have believed the myth that stuff takes 7 years to wipe off, then in theory, all of my default credit cards and all of my default mortgage would have had to drop off my credit report in 2019. But because God said have faith in me, all that was wiped off in 2013, years early. So, because God had a bigger plan for me, the default mortgage and the credit cards were all removed in the year 2013, June of 2013, 11 months late, early. 11 months into the game, my stuff was removed versus 7 years. That's a big ass difference. My derogatory accounts were cleaned off all 3 of my credit bureaus in 11 months versus 7 years. God said, have faith in me. Even though the credit bureau people told me it's going to take 7 years, God had a different plan for me. That's right. We talking about 11 months versus 7 years. Not to negate what they told me. What I want y'all to hear is that the credit bureau said when the clock stops ticking, that's when you begin to go into that 7 years to wait for bad, serious stuff to come off your credit report. But what I also need you all to hear, that God had a bigger plan for me. My stuff was cleaned up in 11 months. But I still had to share that information with you all for you to understand when you're trying to still pay on a derogatory account, you constantly keeping that clock moving versus stopping. That's significant. My stuff was cleared up in 11 months. And I truly believe because I sat still and followed the guidance of God by doing those impact statements and sending the evidence in the envelope. So by 2013, everything was removed. Prior to the summer of 2014, I'm looking good. I'm looking real good. So now, as I continue to master my money, credit score looking good, credit score looking good. I paid attention to the score. So now as I began to pay attention to my credit score, increase my savings, increase my retirements, I say, let me write all of this down because I'm not going to remember it. Let me write down all of the information the credit bureaus told me. Let me write down and how I was persistent in this. So that's significant. That is significant. So if I were to summarize everything, I talked about the snowball and avalanche effect that I use on a daily basis, to a monthly and weekly basis to accelerate my mortgage. I talked about what I had to do to raise my credit score from a 340 all the way up to a 640. I did the impact statement, talked about faith in God. I learned information from the 3 different credit bureaus, and I also learned from the credit card companies in terms of when they sell a bad debt, that credit card company or whoever the stakeholder is will send you a document. Right. When a credit card company sell a bad credit card debt to a collection agency, later on somewhere down the line, that credit card company will send you a document similar to a 1099. And that's even more evidence that they have sold that bad debt to a collection agency. So when these credit card companies send you a document similar to a 1099, I later on found out that you have to turn that document in when you file your taxes, because they count that as revenue. And I didn't know that until I received those documents. So that's more validation that when they turn it over to a collection agency, you don't owe the collection agency anything by evidence that the credit card companies is sending you a document similar to a 1099 where you have to claim that money as revenue for that particular year. So that's another important piece of information that I need for the audience to hear, to validate that if you got a derogatory credit card account somewhere in the future, or after they sell that bad debt to a collection agency, you're going to get that document in the mail and you got to use it to file your taxes. So now I'm going to shift gears and set the stage for the cliffhanger approach for the next segment. The matter of how and what I did to raise my credit score from a 640 to an 800. Because remember, now, based on what I presented to the audience, now I've been doing so good financially. God made a way where my impact statements don't reach the right eyes with the credit bureau. Credit score now jumped from a 615 to a 640. I've set the stage to purchase that house. I ended up getting my home somewhere in 2014 and been in it ever since. It'll be paid off within the next 3 years by me using snowball and avalanche effect. But there's still a part 2 to the credit score. How in the world did I get my credit score from a 640 to an 800 as of 2020, June 27, 2020? I currently have a credit score of 800, and I was able to jump from a 640 to an 800 in about a year. So we're looking at, I bought my house in 2014. I say the latter part of early part of 2016, it jumped from a 640 to an 800. The question is, how did I do it? It was a different strategy I used. There was a different strategy I used to jump my credit score from a 640 to an 800, because there was no need to use that prior strategy with the impact statement. That was hard, and it took a lot of diligence and patience. I had to use a different approach with the credit bureaus. It wasn't with the credit bureaus. It was a different approach. How in the world, or what did I do to jump my credit score from a 640 to an 800 in about a year? Only thing I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say too much. The approach I used was unorthodox, but it worked. It was a deliberate, strategic, unorthodox plan, strategy plan, and risky. A unorthodox strategic plan on what I did to raise my credit score from a 640 to a 800 in about a year. Very unorthodox approach to raising that credit score. If you want to find out what I did, what strategic plan, unorthodox plan I used to raise that credit score from a 640 to an 800 in about a year, you are going to have to tune in next Saturday to find out. Because now we're getting more into the detail of looking at credit score. We're finna start talking about how to tackle any kind of bill. We finna start talking about how to grow your retirement. We finna start talking about how to develop other streams of income. And since we're speaking about that, I want my audience at some point to check out my stuff on Facebook Marketplace to see what type of inventory I have. You ain't got to buy nothing. Just see what I'm doing to generate more income. And that's a whole nother segment in regards to some of the strategy plans that I use to build my inventory, to increase money throughout the week, throughout the month. I don't care if it's $5 or $10 or I make $100 a day selling my inventory. That is another stream of income that ties into using your talents. I stumbled upon that particular income source by cleaning my house last year, and I started selling stuff, and I've been doing it ever since. So, cliffhanger approach. The audience need to find out what unorthodox strategic plan that I use to raise my credit score from a 640 to an 800. You need to know this information. You need to know this information. This ties into financial freedom. I personally will not recommend the unorthodox approach that I'm going to talk about next Saturday. It worked for me. I would not recommend it to anybody. I would not do it again, but I'm going to just throw it out there and talk about it next Saturday because it worked. You know, it worked for me, but I'm not going to ever do it again. But it worked. And trust me, the credit bureaus don't want you to know this here. They don't want you to know no mess like this. No. They want to see your credit score jiked up so you can go out there thinking you got to hire somebody to get it fixed. So this is not something you don't try this at home. But next weekend, because I did it, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. So you ain't gonna know what it is until next Saturday. So again, for my audience, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Send me some comments if you have questions. Send me some comments if you have a little bit more questions about some of the detailed information I talked about in terms of with the information I got from the credit bureaus. You know, when they talked about when the clock stops, when it starts. If you want to know a little bit of information about that document I'm talking about on default credit cards, and you're going to know what it is when you get it, and how it's imperative that you, when you file your taxes, you got to claim that as income. And that validates, because like my cousin said, you don't owe the collection agency anything. You owe the credit card people or the bank people for going default on that loan. By evidence, they sent me a form similar to a 1099, the credit card people. So that's why I kind of just posed, you know, talking about different pieces that link together at the end. So again, send me some comments. As we move through this journey. I'm excited about this because we're getting closer. We're going to begin to talk more about the nuts and bolts of money and finance and strategizing. Since you know the story now, since you know my history, it's time now to start getting down to business. You know, some of my personal goals within the next year, like I said, is to cultivate my Facebook marketplace with my local sale. You know, get that pretty much where I want it to be financially. And one of my segments, I'm gonna talk about some of the strategy plans that I'm using to build my inventory. You know, it's all about dollars and cents, and it's a way you can build if you sell locally on Facebook Marketplace. There's a way that you can build your inventory without necessarily using too much of your income. You can sort of strategically do it in a way where you still within budget. So that comes later on down the line. I hope you all got a lot out of this. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and we are in this together. Have a great day.